Hey, what's going on, world out there? Sports world, it's John Villarreal here, the four-time national champion and the MMA expert, in my opinion. We're talking about Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou, a potential super match. First of all, we have to give huge props and absolute congratulations to Tyson Fury, the heavyweight champ. I mean, unbelievable. Really, just I can't believe what he was able to put together. I mean, Tyson. Let's do this right here. Here we go. There we go. All right, it's a live show. Tyson Fury, unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. 6-round knockout of Dillian Wright. Packed Wembley Stadium. Over 90,000 in attendance, and just great. You know what? Let me turn up this light just a little bit here. I'm going to do that a little bit here. Hold on one second. There we go. Okay, yeah, let's go this way. All right. Hopefully we're not too. Yeah, that's a little better. Okay, we'll do that. Thank you for waiting for that. Okay, here's the deal. Francis Ngannou was in the ring afterwards with the reaction, the post-fight reaction, and Tyson Fury also talked about in the post-fight press conference. And he basically had Francis Ngannou there. And there's a video out there. And I'll refer you to that video. And in that video, they basically were both there and said that like they wanted to do the fight. Now, Francis Ngannou is the UFC heavyweight champion. Tyson Fury is the boxing heavyweight champion. Okay? So there's a lot of interest in this, and we've seen these kinds of exhibitions before with, Jake Paul versus or one of the Pauls. So Logan Paul versus Mayweather, and of course we've seen Mayweather versus McGregor, and that did massive box office. Now that was boxing rules. I think both of those were boxing rules. In this one, there's some that have speculated out there. I'll put some links in the video description on YouTube. Some have speculated that in this situation, maybe it would, in my opinion, if I remember correctly, I think there's a writer out there that maybe, that Tyson Fury doesn't have the same kind of ability to sell pay-per-view as Mayweather. Maybe not. The thing of it is, first of all, why is that the metric? Okay, I mean, I understand why that's in the conversation, but let's say Mayweather made $100 million. Mayweather made over 9 figures in this. Is my math right? I hope it's right. Okay, you're telling me you wouldn't take 50 million, 70 million, 80 million, right? I mean, come on. So, and number one, number two. Tyson Fury just sold out Wembley Stadium for Dillian Wright, dude. I mean, okay, now no disrespect to Dillian Wright. I mean, he's very good and everything like that. But, that wasn't a name. I mean, Francis Ngannou, in my opinion, what's great about this is Tyson Fury can bring the boxing fans, and Ngannou can bring the MMA fans, and they're both champions. Now, I think this comes down to, so I have no doubt this pay-per-view, this is a well-attended event. This is a big spectacle. I mean, I think there's all kinds of, I think this is, Bob Arum seemed to be all over it. And let me tell you, Bob Arum knows more about promoting than me or a bunch of writers or anything like that. If Bob Arum thinks it's good, I think his quote, let me see if I can get that quote. I think he was saying this is an easy fight to make or something like that. I got to double check this here. Let me double check this. Let me see, but it doesn't even matter. To me, this is a no-brainer fight. Now there are some issues, right? There's some different things. Obviously, Ngannou is under contract with the UFC. When is that contract up? I'm not speculating or speaking on that whatsoever. First of all, everything I'm saying, all my personal opinion only, not alleging facts, not casting aspersions on for entertainment purpose only. Please take disclaimers. But from what I've said, from what I've seen in the reports, there's some. He's still under contract with the UFC, so I'm sure Dana White has to get involved somehow, or to see, what happens there, how long he's still in has to deal with that, and he's like your current UFC heavyweight champion. Now, there is a second thing there seems to be some injury here for Ngannou with his last fight against Cyril Gane, and that was a very interesting fight, tough fight. So when can he be okay from that? There's also on the boxing side, there's, Anthony Joshua versus Usyk, that rematch for a championship there. And I think that's interesting. I think Tyson Fury's wife is maybe his dad, but definitely his wife, I believe. I'll see if I can find that video, put it in the video description below. Talked about like, hey, that may get Tyson Fury interested in coming back if they can fight Joshua or Usyk, depending on who wins there, because unify all the belts and everything. But I think if I remember correctly, she was saying that they don't want to make that fight, meaning the other people there. Tyson Fury will take the fight. A lot of people seem to be are people scared of Tyson Fury, right? I mean, you look at that one punch uppercut knockout. I mean, that was unbelievable. That was just so explosive. But here's the thing. So that's sort of in the mix. However, Tyson Fury, I mean, if he retires now, he's got the money, he's got the belt, lineal champion. He went through all the championships, everything that he's done. You can't do anymore at this point, other than what I said there with the unification, potential unification. And he's probably I think, what is he, 34 now? I think he's probably looking at other things. Still very healthy. He's a big, he's got big star power. He's got draw power. Maybe you want to do movies. Maybe you want to do TV. Maybe who knows what you want to do. This fight, potential fight with Ngannou, I think represents massive business opportunity, massive crossover appeal opportunity, a lot of other things as it set up potential UFC stuff. I mean, do you want to fight in the UFC if you're Tyson Fury? I don't think so, but maybe you want to commentate. Maybe you want to do appearances. Maybe you want to do something with WWE. I mean, there's a lot of things that maybe you want to do movies. I mean, there's so many different things that Tyson Fury can do, as we've seen with Mike Tyson, with WWE, and some other things. So I think that this fight creates a lot of opportunities, a lot of business opportunities for Tyson Fury, in addition to the money. I think if this is promoted right, well, let's go step by step. Number one, to me, this all let's go real back. To me, if this is promoted right and it's set up right and you have the right rules, you do it in England, maybe Dubai, but I would do it in England. I mean, I think we've seen what Tyson did there with the Wembley Stadium. I mean, why wouldn't you want to recreate that, right? You do it in England, and you just make it a huge, massive spectacle. You make it a massive spectacle. If, in my opinion, this is me. If I was, right, who's talking? Who's listening to me? If I were the UFC, I would do a co-event. Like that, like you do, like maybe a Friday or Sunday, whatever. You have an event there. This is what I would do. I would have, and this is free advice, right? So, it's not even advice. This is free thoughts. How about that? Whatever you do is at your own risk. Not giving any advice, etc. I would have an event, like you do the fight on Saturday, you have an event on Sunday or Friday, you have the UFC there, well, probably to Sunday, right afterwards, you have the UFC there, you have a UFC event in London on Sunday. They've had a bunch of events over there before. You have a UFC event on Sunday. Ngannou, Fury come over to that event. You promote that event. You promote both events. You have Dana White there. You have everyone talking about. You make it like almost a joint thing. This thing could be so massive. It could be so massive. I mean, and the money I think could be absolutely massive. We know Tyson Fury is a great promoter. We know he's a great showman. I mean, he can sing songs. He does the whole thing. He has a great personality. He's great on the mic. I mean, Tyson Fury, he came in to the Kings of Leon music. I mean, it was just all there. It was all there. So, and I mean, yes, Mayweather's fantastic. It's phenomenal. Once in a lifetime talent. But Tyson Fury is the heavyweight champion, and he's larger than life. He's like 270 pounds, 6'9". It's unbelievable. Now, so I think that the business interests are there. I think it can pay more than a boxing match. It certainly can pay more than a lot of UFC matches. I mean, this can be something that benefits both camps. So I think that financially, business-wise, no-brainer. In my opinion, doesn't mean other things don't come up. Doesn't mean it's going to be put together. I mean, nothing's done till it's done, etc. But so step one, does it make business sense? Absolutely, no question. Now, part of this you kind of put on pause because the second part of it is maybe some critics would say, well, if yes, Ngannou's a big puncher, and yes, he likes to strike a lot, but I mean, let's face it, if it's boxing rules, we all know who's this is the critic, and I'm not saying I agree with this. We all know who's going to win, and it's not boring. If it's MMA rules, then Ngannou wins, and like why do we want to see? We don't want to see that. That's like when James Toney went over to the UFC and got punked out by Randy Couture. So we don't want to see that. But they've already said, Tyson Fury's already said that they were, and this is what do we got here? This is Jack Bear on Yahoo Sports said that, quote, Tyson Fury announces, quote unquote, hybrid fight, unquote. That right there is key. They were talking about maybe UFC gloves, maybe there's no weight limit. There's not a ton. I haven't seen everything. I've seen all the news reports, so I don't know exactly what's been stipulated. And then we're going to drill down a little bit on this. It's not going to be too long a video. We've got about 10 minutes. Maybe we'll go another 5 or 10 minutes on this because, there's some things we can run through here, but we'll continue to cover it as it evolves. But I think we can kind of wrap it up nicely, pretty quickly here. So stay with me. It all comes down to the rules. If the rules are such where it gives Ngannou more of a chance, now you have just skyrocketed potentially your box office. Okay, you feel me on this? So if it's a pure, this is just analysis, speculation, everything like that. If it's pure boxing, Marcus of Queensberry rules, whatever, it's pure boxing, all that type of stuff. You get in the ring, what chances Ngannou have? Well, listen, these are heavyweights. This isn't like lightweights, middleweight. These are heavyweights, right? I mean, so anything can happen with one punch, and we know Ngannou can absolutely hit. So I would say, but I mean, Tyson Fury is so skilled. I would say let's just say Ngannou has less than a 10% chance, maybe 3 to 5% chance. I can't I'm not making any predictions here, but definitely, absolutely would favor Tyson Fury. But I don't think it's something like, oh, for sure. No, there's no for sure, dude. Okay. So writers that write, any writer that might write that, if they did write that, I would say, I would ask if they've been in a boxing ring or how much they know about particularly sports, whatever like that. Okay. But let's say under those conditions, pure boxing, how much of a chance does Ngannou have? Not a ton of a chance. But would people still want to see it? For sure. I want to see it. Absolutely. Because Ngannou is a huge puncher. And, you don't know what he's going to do. The other thing, here's the other reason. This is why it's different than Mayweather, in my opinion. And Mayweather did great events and made a ton of money. And, massive respect to him. Phenomenal business person. Proven. Okay. So, okay. But from a spectator standpoint, that the press conferences are going to be great. So it's not like that's not going to deliver. The buildup and the hype's going to be great, but you also, I'm pretty darn confident that Tyson Fury will engage. There will be a fight. Okay. So I don't think Tyson Fury is going to just, do a lot of defensive stuff. Obviously, it's not like of course you're going to employ some defense, but I think Tyson Fury absolutely will engage. And that's what makes this different and that makes it interesting. But that's if it's pure boxing. So even under pure boxing, even if you say, okay, well, it's not going to sell as much as Mayweather. Okay, so let's say it sells $50 million. And let's say, and do you want to, so would Ngannou do $50 million? Absolutely. I'm not saying he's going to get $50 million, but I'm just saying whatever, some part of whatever. If it sells, would Tyson Fury do $50 million? I think they both do it. Why wouldn't you? I would step in there for 50 million. I would step in there for any decent fraction of 50 million, and I know I would lose. I just make sure my health insurance all is ready, everything's ready to go, right? Just get the ambulance ready to go to the hospital, whatever it is, right? Shoot, Now, but here's where it gets interesting. As you increase the risk for Tyson Fury, the box office potential goes up, and here's what I mean by that. That all comes down to the rules, right? The rules. So what if they do, as I think Tyson Fury mentioned, what if it's UFC gloves? So now you don't have as much padding there. So now maybe the power of Ngannou has more of a chance. And I'll say that again. If Tyson Fury can withstand the power of Deontay Wilder, I think he withstands the power of Francis Ngannou. with normal gloves. So now you go to the lighter, less padding glove. That's interesting. No weight limit. I'd say advantage Tyson Fury. Now he can get heavier stuff, but I mean, maybe he's best at that way. But maybe that's an advantage. So I mean, again, you start seeing some interesting concepts here. What if they do things like do I think that they would do wrestling and locks and choke? I don't see that. I think that's too far. But what if they do, wrestling standing up? What if, in other words, you can hold on to their opponent. You can do dirty boxing. What if you can use elbows? What if you can use some Muay Thai? What if you could do kickboxing standing up? Like, okay, no legs, because I don't think Tyson Fury doesn't want to blow out a leg or a calf. I don't think either one wants to do that. But I mean, for instance, Ngannou can definitely kick. Now you've raised the threat level up tremendously for Tyson Fury. Do you want to deal with that? And that I think is where it gets interesting. If you increase, so in other words, if the risk of Ngannou win, so there's two things. The risk of Ngannou winning is like, let's say under 10%, like Tyson Fury has a 90% chance, 95% chance, 97% chance, whatever it is, somewhere in that range, potentially of winning under straight boxing rules, pure boxing rules. As you move to these hybrid rules, if you have, the modified kickboxing, waist up type of kickboxing match with Muay Thai elbows, now maybe it's closer to a 70-30, 50-50 fight. That dramatically raises the box office potential for this, in my opinion. But if you're Tyson Fury, okay, well now your risk of losing has increased maybe 10x. Maybe the box office only increased 2x. I don't know. I mean, but that's from a win and loss perspective. I'm not so sure Tyson Fury is super. I mean, because it's a non-boxing match. I mean, are you super concerned about losing? I'm sure they're definitely concerned. I mean, would you definitely rather win for sure? But I think the bigger concern there, in my opinion, would be, okay, as you increase that risk of loss, and you start doing more hybrid rules. I mean, it depends on where you want to go with it. Towards more as you get closer towards MMA, you also can dramatically or can significantly dramatically increase your risk of getting hurt. Now that's a different calculation. Tyson Fury seems healthy now. His wife said, "Yeah, we don't need more money in the bank account." Of course, you'll take it. So but I do think that Tyson Fury is someone that, I don't know. I'm not alleging anything. I have no idea of the backstory, but it wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me if maybe Tyson Fury had a few. I think he's talked about that. I mean, I don't listen. I don't. Well, let me say this. I want to even. I'll stop that. I mean, I don't see Tyson Fury as too. I mean, I think Tyson Fury is willing to engage. I wouldn't surprise me if Tyson Fury is willing to engage in a fight. We'll do that. We'll go that way with it. And so I think that he's willing to take some risk. I think he's willing to take some risk. I mean, I think we saw him. Yeah, he did. I think he already did something with the WWE. I think he did something in Dubai with them. I think if I remember correctly, I saw him. I think there was a clip. There was Hogan. There was some different things going on. I think that he's an entertainer. I think he's willing to engage in a fight, and I think he's willing to take some risk. Will it happen? Who wins? Who wins is totally down, as I've already said, it's totally down to the rules. But my gut reaction says, if I were to, I mean, right now, this is, technically overnight here, April 25th. It's after 3 months. Oh, wait, what do we have here? Let's make sure if anyone's trying to monitor the chat, if anyone wants to chime in the chat. My gut reaction says, listen, Tyson Fury is the draw. Tyson Fury is going to dictate the rules that are going to be not too crazy for him. I think he's willing to take some risk. I think we're going to see something more interesting and if it happens, something more interesting and engaging than the Mayweather fight. Although I thought that was I thought that was a great fight too. I mean, yeah, he showed that he was a super boss. I mean, listen, McGregor was saying that he could do. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But that was an interesting fight. I mean, I don't want. That's what I'm saying. Like nobody thought that McGregor. Well, I don't know nobody, but I mean, I didn't think that McGregor was a world-class boxer. But I think he got in there, and I think it was a great event. Why? What wasn't a great event about, in my opinion? And it ended with a stoppage. I mean, it was fine. But in my opinion, so I think that I think the business reasons are there for it happen. I think the crossover appeal. I think the celebrity appeal. I think I think it could work for boxing. I think it could work for UFC if it's done right. I think it could work for Fury. I think it could work for Ngannou. It just dramatically raises Ngannou. This is where I'm going with it. I think that Tyson Fury, if it happens, will use some kind of hybrid rules to make it more interesting. I think the box office will be there. I think it's going to be a win-win-win for everybody. But I think that Tyson Fury will do it to a point that he's comfortable with. Maybe less so about winning, but more so about, okay, I know what this is, and I don't feel like I'm going to get too hurt with this. Or I'm willing to take that risk. I'm willing to take that risk. And I think that... I think that the lighter gloves won't bother Tyson Fury. I don't think that's something that's going to bother him too much. Is he willing to allow, kicks from the waist up in there? I don't know. I think that's significant risk. I think that's a big risk increase there. I think that changed the dynamic a lot. Knees? I don't know. I mean, so this is, what I'm saying, that there's, dirty boxing. I mean, I think there's a couple of different ways to look at it. I think it's interesting, but I think as you can see, as you add more elements to the rules and you go closer to MMA, the storyline gets much more interesting, right? You can just talking through it, thinking through it on how you do this, it gets much more interesting. I think you have to do. I mean, I think the UFC gloves is interesting. I think you have to do a little bit more than that. It has to be well thought through because these are specialists at their different domains, right? And as you take options away from Ngannou in terms of tactics to approach the fight, then he's out of his element. As you add in more different things, then Fury's out of his element. But I think with both these athletes, someone that can strike really, really well for the UFC, and someone that is maybe pretty versatile and willing to assume some risk, and it's just a really big, 6'9", 270, someone with that kind of size that Tyson Fury has as an athlete, and very, great. The movement, the boxing, the footwork is just incredible. And just put on a boxing clinic. I feel like, and the willingness to go there and do WWE, I feel like Tyson Fury will take some level of risk, some elements of risk, and is willing to do something there. But I think it's definitely going to be favoring Tyson Fury, and that's fine because that's the draw. So Francis Ngannou, are you willing, you're going to have maybe more of a chance, if you will, than McGregor, in my opinion, but you're still going to want to take the money, and you're still going to, that's the thing, like McGregor, in my opinion, was already a pretty strong draw. And I think this really helps both athletes. I think it's a win-win if it's done right. Who wins? I think because of what I just said there, I think that there will be hybrid rules, but I think they'll still be favoring Tyson Fury just in terms of, and I say that with this caveat. You've got someone in Ngannou that does MMA, which is basically, boxing, wrestling, all of it, right? So, whereas Tyson Fury is just boxing. So anything that moves away from just boxing puts him at a disadvantage, right? I would expect, right? So it's not. I can't figure out exactly how I want to say that precisely because I'm not. But you understand what I'm saying there. So it's not so much that the rules favor Tyson Fury, because the only rules that would truly absolutely favor Tyson Fury, in my opinion, would be pure boxing rules. So as we move away from that, I think that there's a negotiation, a give and a take there. But I think of that balance, it would be in a range that Tyson Fury is. Let me put it this way. That's right. That's the way I want to. Tyson Fury is comfortable with, and that's fine because it's still, you don't want to see anyone get hurt on these things. They are exhibitions. I do think that it is interesting in terms of, I do think you can do it in a way, you'd have to think it through, and everyone has to agree, but I think you could do it in a way that would maximize, well, maybe not maximize, but that would potentially amplify the box office, amplify the interest, make it interesting, and give an opportunity for both athletes to win. And I also think that you definitely want to have referees in there that are definitely protecting the fighter and enforcing whatever rules that they agree to and whatnot. And I also think it's important that that the audience and the athletes understand the rules. So it's interesting, and that's maybe the challenge too. Is if it's a hybrid match, okay, well, does everyone that's going to attend understand the rules and how we're going to approach this? But not that I don't think that can be super complicated. But with those stipulations, I think that Tyson Fury I would expect to win. But again, absolutely all comes down to the rules. And I think it could get interesting. Because if they allow dirty boxing, now all of a sudden, once Tyson, if Francis Ngannou can get a hold of him, maybe that boxing ability is negated. Maybe some damage is put on there. Certainly, if they allow elbows and kicks, hey, anybody can win that fight now. Now it gets very interesting. But that creates, who knows? Do I think it'll happen? I do think that it will happen, but that's here now in April 2022. I think we have to see what happens with the recovery for Ngannou. I think we have to see what happens on the boxing side with Joshua and Usyk. And if they present opportunities there, I think we have to see what Dana White says, what the UFC does. So there's a lot of things that can intercede that makes it not happen. But I think that there's a lot of reasons to do it, particularly with Tyson Fury saying that he is retired. Why wouldn't you set something up that is probably maybe relatively safer, but with some interest that can generate tremendous money, that also could generate tremendous star power and crossover appeal? I think it's interesting. So I like the fight. I like the matchup. I like the champion versus champion. I think that's really cool. Boxing champion, MMA champion. I like the hybrid rules. We don't know what those are. I think they both have great personalities. I think they're both great athletes. And I think the fans would want to see it. I would want to see it, but there's so much that we don't know. But this is out there. We had to talk about it. It's definitely timing. Once again, big congratulations to Tyson Fury. Massive event. I think this is, the British, UK boxing fans. I think the world boxing fans definitely were checking out that event, and those in attendance definitely. I think that was a big event. It's a huge event. So congratulations to Tyson Fury and his camp and Sugar and all the rest. So fantastic job there. And this is very interesting. And listen, Ngannou was there. Francis Ngannou was there. He got in the ring. He said it. So it's not like, there are different. I do. If I had to guess, I would think more likely than not, because why not? I think there's a movement now towards, again, these are professional fighters. It is a business, and that's probably why I'm going to post this on my LinkedIn too, because there's a big business aspect to this. If the money is in these fights, these exhibitions with or these crossover things, these exhibitions, these events, why wouldn't you go for the money? If how much more risk or less risk is fighting for Fury is fighting Francis Ngannou than fighting Anthony Joshua or fighting Dillian White, a world class or former world champion heavyweight boxer that definitely has power in their hands and can figure out, definitely has a lot of boxing technique. So again, it comes down to the rules. But I would definitely, I think we'll see it. I think we'll see it. We'll see. But that's my guess. If I had to guess, I think we'd see it. But that's what I have to say about that. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate that. Went a little longer, but there's a lot to talk about here. That's the thing. I think there's so much to talk about this. This isn't just a simple deal. There's a lot of layers to this. So once again, what are the economics? What are the rules? then you can talk about who wins. I think the economics could be massive. I think it does come down to the rules, but it doesn't exclusively come down to the rules. Even a pure boxing match, I think people are going to want to see that. Champion versus champion. I think the rules are going to be a little bit more, to summarize here, a little bit more hybrid. And I think that you know, Tyson Fury is the kind of boxing champion that will push that hybrid a fair bit to make it interesting. And then I still would favor Tyson Fury. But it absolutely comes down to the rules. We have to see the rules, and we have to see, you know, how Ngannou recovers from his injury. So anyway, that's what I have to say about that. What do you think? You let me know. Give me the comments below. Definitely let me know. I'm sure this is going to evolve. I mean, let me know what you think. Do you want to see the match? Number one, what kind of rules do you want to see it under? And who do you think wins? That's what I want to hear. Let me know about that. And please like this video if you liked it. If I gave you any kind of information, you like this video, please like this video. I'd appreciate that. Please subscribe and also turn on the notification buttons. We appreciate that. I think there's like a lot of people watch the videos, but not everybody subscribes. It'd be great if you would subscribe. And have a great weekend. Have a great week coming up. My name is John D. Villarreal. I am the MMA expert, the 4-time national champion, and I will see you next time. Have a good night.